Welcome to the test recording of the GamerRoos podcast. The day is July.
September 9th, 2022.
It's September 6th, dumbass.
No. Is it September 6th?
If it were the 9th, we'd be going to the Welcome Back event.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that Welcome Back event. That's why I said that.
Anyways, so what were you saying about the Smash Brothers thing?
Oh, yeah. Recently, it's come out that, like, Super Smash Brothers Pro Elegant, he's a Luigi main. Mm. He has a very serious drinking problem.
Oh.
Like, it's come to the point where, like, not tournament organizers, but hotel staff are asking him to leave.
Wow.
Yeah. It's, like, very awkward to be around him, apparently.
Yeah, just because he's...
It really explains some of his results, like how he can be in, like, top 8 in one tournament and get knocked out before top 64 in another.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with any vice, I guess. It's just at some point, if you're not able to control it, it claims you. I mean, I hope he can find the therapy he needs and gets better. It's a really dour note to start the podcast off with, but I guess
what do you fucking expect? It's Super Smash.
I'm sorry. I know we didn't do any prep work before going into this. I'm mostly just doing this to listen to this in a recording software afterwards and then try and get the formatting right.
Yeah, I mean, another big thing Smash is Ludwig Aldrin's hosting basically the biggest invitational ever for Smash Brothers in Smash Brothers history. He's having 32 invite for Smash Melee and then 32 invite for
Ultimate,
and then he's having qualifiers.
Oh wow! So I guess the 64 Brawl and 4 guys are just going to be sitting out in the lobby, kind of playing hacky sack.
No one fucking cares about them.
Oh come on!
There's no money in it.
I know there's no money in it, but
Brawl's the least competitive. You want Smash 4 Bayonetta? It's just going to be a cutscene of Bayonetta.
Okay, that's fine. You ban Bayonetta like you banned.
No one's going to play Smash 4 if they ban Bayonetta. That's
fine.
what happened the first time around.
Play 64. You can get some nice combos in 64.
I want to just go Kirby in 64 then.
Okay. But like, if you're going to have this gigantic event where everybody's going to come around and it's supposed to be the largest invitational, I don't know why you wouldn't just set up like a CRT in the corner. Let me see what else is over here.
I mean, like, some of the people that will be going to it for the Ultimate side are like Light, MK Leo, Riddles, Spargo, Cosmos, Tweak, Proto Banham, Akola, like some of the biggest players in the world. And then from the Melee side, I'm not too familiar with it because I don't really follow the scene.
I mean, I watch a lot of like Awesome Sauce and Archive Sauce and all that. And it's funny because like I just saw this one video about Leffen, the what was he, a Fox main, and basically just...
If you say Fox main for Melee, you're probably right 50% of the time.
Well, it's funny because like the whole thing was like he was supposed to be some gigantic jackass. Like he was very toxic for the community. He was just very... And I watched like 3/4 of the video, and the whole time I was thinking like, okay, I can see the points that you're getting across, and I can understand like the video examples that you're giving me. But at the same time, it's also... You get burned so many times watching videos like that where it's an attack of somebody's character. And you feel like, okay, well, I get what you're saying, but maybe you're taking this out of context. I'm trying to maybe Leffen's not that bad of a guy. I know I have no reason to believe that, but at the same time, I don't want to immediately go, hate Leffen, even though I never got that indication from any of the Archive Sauce videos, which is interesting for me. But just a very, very interesting.
I don't even play Melee, but I've always heard that Leffen's sort of a jackass.
Oh, okay. See,
yeah, like I don't even play Melee, but from the scene, I've just heard that he's sort of a jackass.
Yeah.
And it's some of the things he's done in the past, like some of the way he's treated other players, I heard.
Well, see, I know there was a different dynamic to that where Leffen kind of views himself as... Are you familiar with wrestling terms? Like,
sort of. Well, I know Leffen wanted to base the entire melee scene around himself,
right,
and that was a big problem for the other 5 gods.
right. But my point was the idea that Leffen is a heel, or basically like somebody who knows he's the bad guy.
Oh yeah.
And
it's almost like H-Box.
Yeah, and how people would extend,
Mm-hmm.
That you've got the bad guy going up against the good guy, and sometimes the bad guy wins, and sometimes the good guy wins.
It'd be like Armada versus H-Box.
Exactly, yeah. And now I know that kind of viewpoint has been detrimental to competitors like H-Box, where he feels like he got a really bad rap for a while.
Oh, he did. He absolutely did.
Yeah, like I saw the documentary, like the one from Lemon about H-Box and how he was, worked very hard to get where he was at and felt very snubbed by the community, even though he had won fair and square. I mean, I guess that's up to interpretation depending on your...
I think the reason for that was because he played Melee in a way that was the antithesis of what he played Melee the way it's actually played, not what they thought it's played like.
Right. Very much
it's very campy. It's like you time out, you play to win instead of like you play fast and you play hard. It's just he plays a very slow play style, and we have players like that nowadays with Sonics.
Yeah. You get it's a different
Sonics,
way to play, and you get very
like everyone loves the Buzz, but if he played Melee, they would hate him. Like, look at the characters he plays. He plays Sora. Well, I don't know if he still plays Sora, but he plays Olimar, Rosalina and Luma, and Min. Like some of the most hated characters.
Right, but if you can make it work, then just the meta-contextual and the preferred community's way to play a game, and those are always at odds with one another.
Yeah, like
because what's fun and what's effective are two different things.
Yeah, like wobbling.
Right. I heard some good arguments for wobbling, actually. As cheesy as it can be, and how much of a scumbag you have to be to like wobble stock after stock after stock after stock, it also does make Ice Climbers viable. And if you have Ice Climbers viable, that breathes some life into the scene, because that's more characters to kind of influence the dynamic. You have more characters that can do.
But my counter argument to that is I view wobbling as a form of stalling, because it is keeping the other player from interacting. There's absolutely nothing they can do to get out of it after like the first 3. After like the first 20%, and it's almost impossible to get out of it that way. Right. And it would eventually, what would happen would probably be either almost everyone would either switch to Fox, Jiggly, Falco, or Ice Climbers. And Ice Climbers, whenever you see that, like there was, I can't remember the game specifically, but there was a set in Fight for Columbia where a Jigglypuff main went up against a Wobbler, went up against an Ice Climber main. And all he did is he took a stock, and then he didn't play the rest of the game. He avoided him. Like, he camped him the fuck out. Like, it went to time all 3 games.
Yeah, I know. Where do you sacrifice your self-respect in the name of victory?
And it was to prove a point. Like, this is exactly what it would be like with wobbling, except just a different speed.
Yeah, it's definitely. Unfortunately, this is pretty much where my understanding of like the Smash scene ends. So I try my best to understand that kind of thing, but I'm not. I don't follow well enough, I guess. So that's mostly on me.
I mean, like I sort of view it as like a spectator event, also spectator side, like wobbling. Like you don't really see any action, especially when it comes to Melee. It's supposed to be fast-paced action.
Right, and if you're just sitting there watching the guy go bam, 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 bam for like 20 minutes. You want to pull your hair out, and you get people that
it sucks all. There's nothing to be excited about,
right?
Unless you're some weirdo.
I mean, at the same time, though, I view wobbling as sort of like not everybody can perfectly wobble, and if that does come to the case, then you're going to see a lot of people try to respond to that. So I view wobbling as, I guess, not long term good for the game, but is just adds a step, I guess, on the game's path to eventually becoming a solved game. If you view every multiplayer game as having that beginning point.
Well, I feel like with Melee, it's such an odd and unique game, mostly because of how fast it was developed. There are so many glitches in it, and so much undiscovered tech. Like, the game's been out for 20 plus years, and the meta's still evolving. Like, it went from Falco and Fox being the top two to to Fox and Marth being arguably the top two, followed by Kirby. I mean, not Kirby. Kirby sucks ass in that game, but
Jigglypuff.
But Jigglypuff, yeah. Like
the small pink one. I know that's rather descriptive, but
annoying fuck. Yeah. But both qualify for him. Anyway. But yeah, like the meta is still evolving, and a 20-year-old game that has received no updates.
Well,
except for like fan.
Speaking of the kind of development of the meta, I was introducing my friend to Team Fortress 2 last night. He recently finally got his hands on a cheap graphics card that he was satisfied with, and I told him to download TF2, and he's still getting his PC library kind of sorted out. So it's an easy game to kind of get started on. It's free to play, But then we were playing a game of Upward where it was 5 people on each team, and it was interesting to kind of view the way that he was starting the game, how a lot of people started the game back then. Upward, not even Payload, was a vanilla map, but at the same time kind of viewing the way that he was playing the game versus how other people were playing the game. And to parlay this into my actual point, the way that beginners played the game probably back in 2007 versus the hyper soft meta that some argue plagues TF2 to this day. Because a lot of people are starting to make the argument that like Sniper is an overpowered class, that Pyro is too underpowered, Spy is too underpowered. And while I can appreciate their points in the sense that it's very difficult for these people to get as good as they can, once they do finally reach that point, then you basically do have a class that's hit scan, hits wherever at a very long range, and a good sniper main can circumvent their traditional trouble classes.
Yeah, I think that's one of the speaking of that, I think that's one of the problems in FPS games in general. How do you balance around long distance rifles?
I mean,
because
sorry, go ahead.
If you want, you have the difference between SMG that you have to be up close and it sprays all, but then you have a sniper rifle, which can reach out and touch someone. That's why they're so effective in real life too.
Right.
Like, I don't have to be anywhere near you. You don't even have to see me. Like, why would I put myself in danger of being shot if I could just hit you from halfway across the map?
My broader point was about how do you bounce around extremely high skill ceilings? Because we're getting to the point in a lot of games where...
Well, look at CSGO. CSGO is in a similar detriment because it is a very high skill ceiling. And and the only objective factors in that game that can be changed are the guns and how they work. So if you have an AK that can headshot someone, or how do you balance that around using the M4, the M4A1 or the M4A1S? Like,
right,
Like, why wouldn't you just kill someone for their AK if you can
get away with it? Yeah, exactly.
Even if they say the M4s are more accurate, if you're skilled enough just to get a headshot, what's the point?
I mean, you're absolutely right. It's how do you balance around the skill ceilings? How do you balance to make sure that like you don't completely nullify a new player's experience? How do you make sure that you don't?
Perfect example, Smash.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's how do you cap the skill ceiling to make sure that the people are still competitive, so that the entry for play is not daily grinding like 6 to 8 hours to get barely good enough at a character to be competitive, not even actually good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's,
Rainbow Six Siege.
Okay, don't do that again. That blew the fuck out of my eardrums. God damn it, George. I've had gunshots go off next to my ear that were fucking quieter than that.
But, like, think about it, like Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah, it's...
How do you balance that game when it's, like, it's such a unique game in that the fact that anything can headshot. One-shot headshot.
Exactly, yeah. I know one of the points I'm trying to get to is the idea that you want, like, in TF2, even if one player is insanely overpowered, is going off on a tear, pub stomping, at the same time, the game win state is still centered around an objective. And it's casualized to the point where it's acceptable to kind of have a very long TTK. It's acceptable to have very flawed weapons. So even if you're still playing in a casual environment, if you're playing in that casual environment, it's why I love casual so much, because you're playing with people of all skill levels. And even if you have somebody that's really good, you're not completely screwed. The team isn't completely screwed. It's not like Rainbow Six where, people are just flicking off headshots and all of a sudden everybody's dead and you don't even have to worry about the objective.
Or that way, like in CSGO.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. So it's an interesting thing to decide, and I think that's something that you have to. Every individual community has to come.
Yeah. One of the more interesting ones, thinking about it, is Overwatch. It's a really in a unique position because it's not quite an FPS, but it's not quite League of Legends.
I've heard it described as a first-person MOBA, and I think that kind of sums up my feelings when I played Overwatch a couple of years back on a friend's PS4.
Yeah. When I only played to season 5 of competitive. No, season 3 of competitive, and that's when I stopped because that's when GOAT became the meta. Where you had Brigitte, Reinhardt, Orisa, Anna, and Mercy. You notice how in all of that, I didn't mention a single damage dealer. GOAT was developed counter to the dive meta, which was Genji, Zarya, Anna, Pharah, and and Winston. And the dive meta, a lot of people liked it because of how action-packed it was. Like, it would just be like it'd be calm, but then all of a sudden, all hell would break loose.
Right, yeah.
Because you'd have Winston and Genji all of a sudden diving into the middle of the other team. Like, it's pretty fun to watch that. But then when you have basically meatballs covered by, at the time, the best healer in the game, what do?
I know the TF2 Sixes kind of has a similar problem where nobody plays Spy or Heavy. I think it's like 2 soldiers, a demo man, a medic, a scout, and usually fielder's choice after that. It might be another soldier, it might be another damage dealer, but like it's almost never a heavy. It's almost never a spy. It's almost usually no snipers either, just because people know the choke points or the specific spawn points. And sniper just if he doesn't have that advantage, then he's kind of pointless because his SMG is a piece of crap. I mean, useful against lighter classes, but otherwise it's a piece of crap. You kind of have that issue where once you get to the meta, you kind of you're so focused on the extreme, how do we win as efficiently as possible, that you suck the variety out of the game. If people might choose Spy, if it's like they're not paying attention to class choice and you really want to like surprise them, but until that Spy becomes useful, you're basically doing a hockey power play where the other team just doesn't know when the player's allowed to get back into the game, or that kind of thing. I've never liked the idea of uber competitive stuff, uber competitive video gaming in general, which is funny because we have an esports team at GamerRoos.
I think that's what I think GOAT sort of killed off Overwatch League. Like, you remember how hyped Overwatch League was? It was like $1 million plus buy-in to even get into it.
Yeah, there was like a couple of cities that were starting to invest in like an actual esports team in addition to like, their baseball team or their basketball team or whatever. But then
Yeah, and then like you don't hear about it at all now.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember there were Penny Arcade comics talking about like the Seattle regionals, the Chicago regionals, the New York regionals, and then nothing. I mean, I think esports has a long way to go because unfortunately, like when you have the sports that people play today, you have baseball, which has been around since basically the Civil War. You have football, which has been around since the turn of the
Century.
The turn of the century. You have hockey, which has been around since a similar amount of time. You have basketball, which was
since around 50s.
Yeah, like the 50s. And there's these games that have like a lot of weight behind them. They've been around forever, and they're tied to cultural stuff.
Yeah, and it's generally considered more masculine. And then when you have esports, where you have people sitting behind a computer, it's hard for other older generations and other people to
really
traditionally think of it as a sport.
No, I that wasn't the masculine thing wasn't the direction I was going for, but I get what you're saying about why it's not viable. My point was that Overwatch was such a new game that even though there was some interest around it to begin with, like in any other novel sport, like I guess competitive bowling isn't a good example, but it's kind of in the vein of what I'm trying to go for. But eventually interest dries up, and there's just no cultural, like the only game that I could really think of that would make sense as like an esport mainstay would be like Doom, because people have been playing Doom since 1993. Well, 94 more.
Yeah,
to be more realistic, but
I think a mainstay would be CS:GO.
CS:GO is another one that I could see, just because
it's 11th year anniversary, 10th year anniversary. It just had it,
and it's been iterating since CS 1.6. So
it's still getting updated,
right? But at the same time,
it sort of died off because the skin gambling thing
just really ruined a lot of the credibility. Yeah,
that and the hackers.
Oh yeah,
the hackers ruined it, and then when Valorant and Apex came along, and what really killed it was honestly the battle royales.
Right, yeah, and there was that one time that CS tried to put in a battle royale, and
that failed.
Nobody fucking played it.
Don't talk about that, James.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know we didn't talk about that.
Talk about that.
Anyway, so on another point, I read an article when I woke up a few days ago about how Nolan Arenado wanted Pujols to stay for another year because of how popular Pujols has been and how good his position as a DH has been.
Pujols came to St. Louis to retire.
Exactly, he came to say goodbye, and
he's retiring with Yachty. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Exactly, he was retiring with Yachty and Wainwright. Like he's not. He's said goodbye at too many stadiums for all of a sudden to turn around and say like, you know what, I'm going to double dip.
Yeah, I think his body's just too worn out. Like let's face it, he's probably older than what he says. He's probably like around 50.
Well, okay, hold on a second. I'm not trying to call into doubt like Dominican Republic.
No. It's like a common fact. Like it's happened in multiple sports.
Oh, where you put so much strain on your body.
It's happened in basketball. It's happened in baseball. It's happened in football.
I see what you're getting at.
Yeah, no, like I'm not like he graduated from O'Hara High School. It's literally like in Missouri, south of Kansas City. Like it's like a stone's throw away from here. But it's hard to verify birth certificates like that. And I think he might be older than what he says he is. Like there's a lot of speculation in the baseball world that he might be older than what he says he is.
Well, I guess beyond the age bit, I mean, it's no secret that Pujols' hitting has been kind of spotty this baseball season. It's really been coming
spotty the past 10 years since he went to the Angels.
Well, sure, and that was okay. That's a good point. It's been spotty since he left St. Louis, and he just wasn't. Was away from home, and the money was good, but he just wasn't really. But like even this season, like he's really starting to come around where he's getting put in good situations where he's a notable batter, and that really gets into pitchers' heads. And even if he does a sacrifice fly, like there's been a couple of games. He's one of the greatest
batters of all time.
Exactly. There's been a couple of games where like he's, it was 0-0, and he like towards the end of the game, but Pujols went up when he had batters in position, and he was able to smack it so far like into the outfield. Even though it was a sacrifice fly, it was a sacrifice fly, and that won the game.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, like he's coming up on 700 home runs.
Yeah, I really hope he does.
I hope he does too, because he's at 695 right now, and I know there's a game going right now. I'm wondering if how that's going. Yeah, like I hope he makes it. He says he doesn't mind one way or another, but I think he'll. I hope he gets to 700 home runs, and quite frankly, like. I also think that some pitchers are also kind of thinking about it and goes like, well, if he makes a 700th home run against me, I'll be immortalized in that moment, even though I was the one that was kind of pitching against him. Because at the same time, like the amount of respect you see from other ball players to Pujols it's very heartwarming. There's a lot of respect from the industry for him and Molina and Wainwright.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it's like Yadier Molina, like.
It's Yadier fucking Molina. Who doesn't know Yadier Molina?
He is like very like you can just tell by the stats he's respected because the Cardinals have had less people run on him than anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And but the Coscielny, like look how many people ran on them compared to everyone else.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. Like Yadier Molina put the fear of God in people.
They should give him a Bible on the field and just he's staring down that first base runner and he picks up a Bible and he just shakes it and the first baseman just gets on the first base.
Have you seen that clip of that guy and
first base runner? Excuse me.
I think it was like last year, spring training, where this young rookie came up and he was like going to try to steal, and Yachty threw down the first base line to try to catch up, and the guy he didn't get tagged out, but he did that, and so Yachty was like, okay, run. See what happens. Run. Go.
There was a
guy ran. Yachty gunned him out by a mile.
Oh,
and he just did this. What'd we learn?
You don't fuck with an old dog in a young man's game.
Yeah, like, damn. Sat him down and took him to school.
Oh, my God. There was a play a couple games ago where there's this one guy who was like in the top 500 sprint speeds, like home to first speeds in the game, and the dude had a lead off from third to home, and there was a little middling, I think it was a little middling ground ball to the second baseman, where to the shortstop, where he threw it back to Yachty on the wrong side of the plate. Yachty catches it, spins around, and managed to get him before he got under the tag, and they called it for review, and they had to get like 3 different camera angles on him, but it turns out that Yachty got him in the split second before his hand touched home plate, and it was labeled an incredible play, and I can't blame him, or I can't blame them for saying that because it was an incredible play. I thought the guy was safe, and then they went to the slow mo, and I'm like, oh my God, Yadier Molina is Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like holy. I have his picture on my mantle. I pray to him every day.
Every time I sit down
for my patron saint.
Every time I sit down for a meal, I go, "Thank you, Yachty. Thank you for this meal and our daily bread."
Yeah. Yeah, but you don't see that kind of longevity with any other. How long has he been with the Cardinals?
2001, I think.
20 years.
Yeah, 20 years.
20 years he's been with the Cardinals.
And he's
one team, and he's played the most grueling position besides pitcher, catcher.
Yeah,
like I don't think anyone will argue besides pitcher it is the most grueling position.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy the just the position that he's played, and he's coming up. I think they're about to hit it within like 2 weeks. I think the most starts with a single pitcher. Sorry. The task cam freaked out when I did that. It's like 2,000, I think, starts or something like that with Wayno, or
God,
something. I don't think maybe it's not 2,000, but like an insane number of starts with a single pitcher, and it's gonna beat the league record in like 2 weeks. Can you imagine?
Yeah, like you won't ever see that again.
Exactly. Like maybe in 60 years when you get like the perfect alignment.
Oh, but speaking of perfect alignment, Aaron Judge.
This
is his contract year. He has 54 home runs.
Oh.
His contract year. Let me reiterate that. This man has 54 home runs on his contract year.
And how many games has it been in the season so far?
Like I can look it up.
Like 100 and something so far? I'm trying to remember how many games the Cardinals have played. Yeah, like 135, I think. If I'm doing my mental math correctly. There's a reason I'm a bio major.
Yeah, Aaron Judge turned down a $215.3 million contract for I think it was 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because he views himself as more, and now he's on his way to a home run record.
Yeah,
it's. I think he bet on the right person. Personally,
yeah, I think he he made the right call.
Mm-hmm. This man's. I don't think people realize how big Aaron Judge is. He's 6'7", 282.
Damn.
He's a linebacker playing baseball.
It's
it's not even an exaggeration.
It's just straight up Barry Bonds, just
without the roids,
or like the panda. Oh shit! I'm sorry, I'm not too caught up with the baseball scandals recently. And or like the panda from San Francisco, where if he got an inside pitch, gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Speaking of scandals in baseball recently, what do you think of Tatis testing positive for PEDs?
It's funny because I hate the Dodgers with every fiber of my being.
He's not Dodgers.
No, I'm getting to that, George. But I do love the Padres, and it's funny because whenever they come into town and they smoke the Cardinals, I'm like, I can't get that mad. I remember going to Cardinals-Padres game when I was a kid and thinking, "Oh, those poor Padres, they're gonna get smoked," but they're my team. And now at this point, it's like, "Oh, the Cardinals, they're gonna get smoked, but they're my team." And and I think it's a shame because there's always that disillusionment moment where you get this player who's putting up these insane statistics, and then you realize, oh, they're doping. Mm-hmm. I desperately want to believe that it wasn't the performance enhancing drugs, and it really was something to do with his what do you say it was, his elbow? But
something like that. But I hate to say this, but he's probably be the reason that no young player under the age of 25 will ever get a big contract again.
Yeah,
he had a motorcycle accident crash during his off time, which put him on the IRR list. All this other shit that happened, and then the PED came out.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man.
Yeah,
he went from the poster child of baseball to something you don't really hear about a lot anymore.
Wasn't Tatis on the cover of some baseball game?
He was on the cover of MLB The Show. That's
totally the
for 20 or 19.
I think it was 2019. But that's almost exactly how the game cover curse that plagues the NFL go. Yeah. And then he just had so many things go wrong at once. It really is a shame.
Okay.
Other Padres news. What was it? It was Sosa, the guy who had the insane trade this summer.
Yeah.
Got traded away from the Nationals, but the Nationals just beat the Cardinals 6-0 yesterday. And I was watching the game, and Meneses, one of the guys that stuck with the Nationals, is actually putting up comparable statistics to Souza right now.
Soto.
Souza is a Cardinal. Soto is the guy that I think
you're going to get crucified. I want you to know this.
Soto,
if this ever makes it to the light of day, you're going to get crucified by Nationals fans.
Oh my God.
And by
screw the Nationals fans. They don't even live in D.C. They live in Virginia. They're on the other side of the coast. What are they going to do? The damn Virginians, dude. What are they going to do against me? Is this going to be some shit where I wake up and there's a? Oh wait, no.
There's going to be a dead horse head in your bed.
I was gonna do the dead horse head joke, but then I wanted to spin it in a Washington D.C. direction.
You just drop it.
Yeah, a donkey and an elephant head. Elephant head would be big. I don't know how they get a cover around that.
How would you even get that to America?
Well, there are plenty of elephants in zoos.
You know how well guarded those motherfuckers are?
Bribe the guards. Bribe the guards in Washington,
Well, those
D.C.
elephants would kill you first.
Fair enough. No, they just use an elephant gun. That's what they're made for.
Yeah, except you know those other elephants would gouge you, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
The other elephants.
And firing
would kill you.
an elephant gun would tear your shoulder off.
No. I mean, there's plenty of people that have...
Do you have the
If
muscles built up for it?
Me? No, but there are plenty of old white assholes that, like, fancy themselves big game hunters that have probably shot them and were fine. It's only 700 Nitro Express.
Only 700 Nitro Express.
Okay, well, it's not going to literally rip your arm off, George.
I know that. I was being hyperbolic.
We're at an impasse.
Anyway, enough about that.
Whatever.
Or-
Nationals fans, whatever. So, yeah.
Fuck them. Anyway.
Yeah, Meneses putting up similar stats to Soto, like when he was doing really well this summer.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Shohei Ohtani. If he is putting up incredible numbers this year. Like at last I checked, his K for 9 was 12.4.
Damn.
And he's just hit like home run 32, I think.
Wow.
If he was either just a hitter or a pitcher, he would be having a phenomenal year. But he's goes both ways, and like it seriously puts him up in contention for MVP with Judge. Like it's everyone knows it's between Judge and Shohei.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer on the Cardinals sides because we've got a lot of good guys this year that we've got basically Arenado, Goldschmidt, and no, Bader got traded. But like we got a couple of really good guys like on the Cardinals this year, as well as a bunch of guys that can support them, like Edman. I don't want to say Palante because he basically gave up the game yesterday, but Newt Barr. I'm sorry, I'm running at a loss. It's been a long day. But all these guys that can supplement them, and that's why the Cardinals. I mean, the Cardinals just have a good team. All these other baseball teams have good players, but Cardinals right now have a team. Unfortunately, it's not going to put us in we always wind up in the playoffs. We never
the wild card.
Yeah, we always wind up in either the wild card spot or the NL Central spot, but we never actually do well because it's always some other team's year that they had 1 in a million. Like it was. You had back-to-back teams between the Royals and the Cubs that just had insane years and then retreated into obscurity, which is a shame because
Yeah, the Royals say that because they said they couldn't afford it, but it's just a billionaire not wanting to spend money. The Cubs, I don't know what the fuck they were doing. I have no idea what the fuck the Cubs were doing.
Apparently whatever Tatis was doing. That's facetious. I'm not accusing the Cubs of anything like that. Well, anyways, that ends the test episode for the GamerRoos podcast, where we spent half the podcast talking about baseball.
And it'll go this way again sometime soon.
I'd like baseball to be kind of our tangent thing because I want the kinds of people who listen to gaming podcasts to all of a sudden be out of their depth with baseball.
Yeah.
Just like,
what
the fuck is a Cardinal?
What the fuck's a National?
What's Chicago?
Who's Shohei?
All right.
What's a Judge?
All right. I don't know how to end the podcast. I'll come up with
Sephiroth.
Number 14, Sephiroth. Burger King foot lettuce.